The Sardine Run, that phenomenal greatest shoal on earth. Sardine Run starts generally through the Transkei from about mid-June through to the end of July. And there's nothing fixed in nature, so it could start a little bit earlier, it could start a little bit later, but generally it's those 6 weeks from mid-June through to the end of July, and it is just this massive shoal of migrating sardines coming down from near Port Elizabeth on our east coast of South Africa and migrating upwards close inshore with these cold counter currents, bringing them close to the continental shelf and close enough for the boats to be able to get out and see them. The amazing thing with the Sardine Run is that the key indicators are gannets, Cape gannets, which are seabirds which dive down probably 8 to 10 meters, 12 meters into the water and then swim around underwater and then grab sardines with their bills. They are one of the key indicators, and the other key indicator is the common dolphin. Huge mega shoals, or mega pods rather, of common dolphin pursue these sardines and eat them as they're migrating up the east coast of South Africa as far as Durban, which is about 1,000 kilometers that they migrate from where they start all the way up towards Durban, and then they move offshore following the colder currents again. There have been a lot of hypotheses about how and why these sardines migrate. Some years they don't, some years they do. Some hypotheses or thinking is that it's temperature related. It could also be food related. Certain plankton, because they're planktivores, they're filter feeders, they could be feeding on certain plankton which only occurs in a certain temperature regime, which is what these sardines then are following. It's all up for hypothesis. Many ideas have come up and nothing's really been proven scientifically that this is the definitive version of why the sardines migrate. Be that as it may, the wonderful thing about these sardines is that humanity, we as humans, have the opportunity of getting in the water and swimming around these bait balls, these massive shoals of sardines, and seeing the predation of the sardines by the common dolphin, by the gannets, by hundreds and hundreds of sharks, bronze whalers, duskies, blacktips, you name it. All the different shark species are then following this massive food source, as well as the game fish, the pelagic game fish, the tuna, the gabelio or the mulloway, they call them in Australia, the different the pelagic fish that will feed on this nutrient-rich shoal. With the Sardine Run, we normally go out in an inflatable, an 8-meter inflatable, 6 to 8 clients or people on board, and then we just look for the telltale signs of the gannets diving or the big megapods of common dolphin, which are indicators as to where the shoal of sardines are. And we just jump in the water and see what's happening. The common dolphins are the ones that create this bait ball. They sort of cut off a shoal of sardines from the main shoal and then keep them there in one ball, and the sardines will keep going around in one ball, not trying to break away and scatter because they feel safe in this ball in this bait ball. And then the common dolphin will then dive down. A couple of them will dive down and let up this whole wall of bubbles, which then the sardines think is a barrier, and then the common dolphin attack them from the other side. And it is phenomenal to see how well they work together, the sort of synchronicity of common dolphin and the bait ball. Coupled with that is these thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of gannets diving into the water. They're like missiles piling in. They can reach 100 to 120 kilometers per hour before they hit the water. And they have this vapor trail that goes into the water 8 or 10 meters down, and then they start looking for fish to eat. And so, coupled with that, all the sharks underneath the dolphin. It is just absolute mayhem and so exciting. So what we normally do as a group of spectators, we jump into the water and then we create like a half moon, a half circle, which then allows the predators, the dolphin and the sharks and the gannets, to work the bait ball from one side without us interfering. and we just get to observe what is happening. The chaos that evolves with all these sardines jumping everywhere, dolphin jumping everywhere, squeaking and talking to each other, sharks mauling bait balls, gannets diving through. It is an absolute mega chaos happening, and it's very, very exciting. The water clarity sometimes isn't the greatest. It's not 40-meter crystal blue. It is sometimes 5 or 6 meters with a sort of that greenish algae in it, which is just plankton, which the sardines are feeding on. And so it all adds to the whole ambiance of it. With all these predators feeding actively on the bait balls, you also have Brodus whales, and some people pronounce it bride's whales, and these will also jump in on the action and then have this huge big mouth open up and just scoop literally hundreds and hundreds of kilograms of sardines right next to you. I've had them literally 3 meters away from me coming up into a bait ball, and it's just like a Brodus whale is anything from 12 to 14 meters long. That's a big whale, and it is right next to you and it's feeding actively on this bait ball. Just absolute mayhem. At the same time that the sardine run is happening up this east coast of ours, up the wild coast, what we call the wild coast, we also have the humpback whales also migrating up from about early May right the way up into October, when they've turned around and they're starting to migrate back from the warmer waters of northern South Africa and southern Mozambique. So we have them going north, and then we at a certain time, probably around about mid-August, September, then they start migrating back down towards the Antarctic. So we also have these humpback whales, which you can see amongst the sardines and the shoals and things. So it is just an absolute, it is off the charts in terms of marine biology and marine animals. It is unbelievable.